Okay, welcome. So today we're going to be talking about Japan, and this is specifically going to be about people who are Japan curious, people who are maybe curious about Kyoto specifically, who are working remotely, who are nomads, and are wondering whether that could be a destination that you might want to spend some time in. Maybe spend a month in, work from remotely, see how it all works. So why listen to us about yapping about Japan? Well, it's because between us, we have an incredible amount of not just time spent in Japan, but also actually so many destinations that we've been to. We've met so many nomads on our journey. I'm going to get into that in just a second so that you understand just kind of how deep the sort of expertise or experience is here. And we have this wonderful opportunity to look at our time that many of us shared in Japan a while back and compare it to some of these other destinations that we've been to so that you can get a much better understanding of basically what this destination is all about. So I think Wi-Fi Tribe has now been on, I want to say 4 Japan trips, and we're about to get onto our 5th. I hope I'm accurate on that, but basically we've done it a lot. So that's going to be 5 months of time spent in Kyoto, in Japan specifically. And that would be about 100 remote workers, 100 nomads who would have spent time there. Now, our chat today is going to focus a little bit more on Kyoto, but we'll also talk about Japan a little more generally because a few of us have had the chance to travel around there as well. The first part of it is going to be mostly focused on just kind of Japan, Kyoto generally. For the second half, we're then going to get a little bit more into talking about Wi-Fi Tribe and then the chapter experience in particular. So if that's something that you're curious about, just listen in and we'll touch on that as well. So I'd love to introduce our wonderful guests on our chat today. And I'm going to ask you a few questions. I'm just going to pass it around as we go. So first off, name, where you're from, and what you do. So Monica, I'm going to pass it to you first.
Thank you. I'm Monica Sweeney. What was the question?
Where you're from.
Okay. I'm Monica Sweeney. I'm from Boston, and I make books for a living. I'm the editorial director of my company, and I'm also an author.
Amazing.
Should I use this one? Okay. Hey everyone, I am Nosif. I used to work for an education company where I would manage their Salesforce software, but now I'm in transition, so I'm not sure where exactly, but I am making a career switch.
Hi, I'm Aura, and I'm from Romania, and I'm also part of the Wi-Fi Tribe team. But yeah, this is me.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. So I'm Diego. I am one of the founders of Wi-Fi Tribe, started this about 10 years ago. And I'm from Germany and from Bolivia. Now, I've got one more question that I want to make the rounds real quick, which is how many years have you been nomading? And just roughly, quickly, what's an estimate of how many remote workers or nomads you might have met along the way?
I've been nomading since 2016. I do remember my first trip, which was not with Wi-Fi Tribe, but I met you in a co-working space. I don't remember it that well, but I did remember enough 2 years later to say, I want to join Wi-Fi Tribe. How many nomads? Hundreds. Especially I've joined Wi-Fi Tribe in 2018. My first chapter was in February of 2019. So since then, 14 chapters times 25 people, whatever that is. And then just so many people that you meet adjacent to Wi-Fi Tribe and through Wi-Fi Tribe. Yeah, definitely hundreds.
I started my nomad career 3 years ago, and it was actually through Wi-Fi Tribe. That was my first trip, and then I probably met over 100 or 150 people just in the tribe, and yeah, it's been amazing so far.
For me, I think I accidentally started being nomadic remote back in 2013. And I think ever since I met hundreds and hundreds of people. So yeah.
Yeah, so it's pretty crazy to think about, but I think effectively between us, we must have met easily 1,000 people working this kind of lifestyle. So I wanted to just put that into context because I think it helps for somebody who's watching this to understand, okay, they kind of know what they're going to be talking about. And this is going to be really helpful when we now are able to share a little bit more about this one destination and how we compare it to maybe other places around the world. So on that note, let's get specifically into the destination. So It's been a while, I know, especially for you. I think it was like 2, 3 years ago, right? When you think back to that month in Kyoto, what comes to mind? What do you remember that still makes you smile to this day?
I think Kyoto is one of those chapters where I could probably map out on a calendar almost everything we did very fully. I have such a clear picture of everyone on that chapter, of the things that we did together, because it was just so memorable. And I think whether it's the ideas that people brought into the chapter of what they were interested in doing, that helped fill out the entire month of activities, whether it's going to we went to Universal Studios, we went to a monastery, we went to an onsen town, and everybody brought those things to the table. So as a result, it's just like all of these anchoring memories.
Yeah, I mean, my experience, I did it last year, so we had such a great group, and even though you're like split into 4 different housing, we were able to kind of still connect in a way where it was really special. And I think, yeah, the weekend trips, like Monica mentioned, it's like very special. Like the country itself is so special. So like you remember everything you're doing. Like it's hard to forget. So yeah, definitely one of my favorite countries.
Yeah. Well, for me, is the first time I went to Japan was back in 2016, and I had a project there. And with that project, I just, in time, like having time off, and you just want to wander and explore. And I've just done so many things alone, but I remember just like, I wish I could do some of those things with somebody. So then the next time I went back was 2019 on the first Wi-Fi Tribe chapter. And it was just so magical because even some of the things that I've done, I got to see them through a different lens together with friends. And I guess like it just really holds a special place in my heart. And I've been actually on 3 Japan chapters, so every time I go back, I feel like I'm experiencing something different. That's what's interesting. Yeah.
Amazing. So thinking specifically about Japan now, why should people experience Japan, just generally?
I think for me, it's the juxtapositions. You have culture, history, just these really beautiful traditions that they uphold all the time, and you have access to all these different beautiful opportunities, and then you can also go to a city and play a bunch of arcades. Like there are just culturally, you have so many different options that feel like they shouldn't fit in the same place, and they do. And I think as a result, there's a little bit of something for everyone. But Japan in general, it's also very different from other destinations because I think for at least people who are in maybe Europe or the Americas, it's just not as accessible. So the lifestyle, the food, everything is just something new every day. And that's, I think, as a nomad, really important and really refreshing.
What was the question?
Why should people experience Japan specifically?
I think Japan is like one of the most unique places I've been on. It's just kind of some things that Monica mentioned, like the culture or the traditions they have are so unique compared to any other culture. And yeah, I mean, the food there is incredible. And there's just so many things to do for variety of people. So you would never be bored there.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think it's one of my favorite places in the world now. It's almost like you feel like you can explore the culture and traditions, like you guys said, but almost like 1,000 years back. Like they still exist and they're so rooted in every single person. And we get to have a glimpse of it as everybody carries on with their life. And we just get to experience it from the outside. And I think that's just very interesting, very magical, very different, and a little bit at times out of your comfort zone because you're experiencing something new.
I do remember when we went on the trips, because I've been now on 3 of the chapters, the trips that we do. After those, after 2 of those, I stayed on for another month, and then I was like, okay, I think I'll stay for another month. So I ended up spending, I think in total now, maybe 7-8 months in Japan, which is wild. Like it's of the 2 places that I go to the most in the last years, it has been Kyoto, it has been Japan. So yeah, just a place I really love. What's it like to do it as a nomad? Is it hard? Is it what's that like? Maybe Nosif, if you want to kick us off.
Yeah, I mean, it was challenging because I was working U.S. hours, so I think that's the most challenging part of it. If you're working any US hours there, you're working from anywhere from 10 to 7 in the morning. And I think those hours can catch up to you if you're doing the full chapter. So I would recommend maybe taking vacation, maybe first half of it or the second half. So it depends on your how you like to travel. But I think the hours was the worst part about that, for me at least. Yeah.
Would you mind repeating the question?
Yeah, what's it like to do it as a nomad, so as a remote worker?
Oh, as a nomad, I think it's my favorite part because when you go on a holiday, you usually have like 1 or 2 weeks of holiday and you want to put everything in, and naturally you just like see the most touristic things, which are the most beautiful, and you just want to do them all in. But I felt like as a nomad, I got a chance to slow down and just actually get a little bit deeper into the cultures. Like, stop at the coffee shop and give yourself 30 minutes to have a chat with the person making coffee and understand the culture, understand their mission, like why they do what they do. And yeah, I think as a nomad, you get a little bit more time because you're slowing down. So that's why I love it versus like, I'm going to do a holiday here.
Similarly to what Aura said, I think the pace is really great on chapter because as a destination that can be very far for people to get to, the ability to stretch it out into 4 weeks and not feel like you have to pack everything in right away. The challenge is that there are so many things to do that you will pack your days anyway, but I was lucky in the sense that my hours are fairly flexible. I would overlap maybe half the day for East Coast hours, and so it wasn't sort of as difficult as doing a full work day, but that meant that I could do some things during the day with the tribe, and then keep my head down at night. But I think Japan can be an intimidating place to go strictly because there's just so much to do and you don't know how to choose. But with that extra time, you really get the opportunity to do what you want to do and at a pace that feels right.
So what cities would you guys recommend doing in Japan? Maybe you've tried a few different ones, or which ones did you hear of or did you try that you did like a lot?
Yeah, I mean, there's the famous ones like Kyoto, Tokyo, Osaka, but I think my favorite one was this small little town that we went to for onsens. I think it was called Kinosaki Onsens. And that was like a weekend trip we did, and it's basically like 7 or 8 different onsens. And it's a really small town. You just walk around in the traditional outfits and go to different onsens to onsen. It's such a beautiful experience, and that was definitely one of my favorite things I did there.
It's a tough call because I think Kyoto in particular, I have a very special place in my heart for it. It's just so wonderful, and we're the tribe house. It's in a traditional style Japanese home, and you're near the woods and just really beautiful elements of Kyoto. But we did go to, I believe it was Koyasan, which is a monastery town where there's this very beautiful cemetery, and we went at night, so there's all this moody, misty lighting, and then we had this traditional experience staying at the monastery, and that was just something that was very unique to being in Japan that I don't think you could have gotten in many other places. So that was special. And then on that same day, and this is one of those juxtaposition things, after we did the morning monastery, we took the train down to Osaka, where we promptly went to Universal Studios. So just a nice balance.
I guess as favorite places, I mean, definitely Kyoto to have it as a base if you're going as a nomad. And for me, it was like, it was a city that is small enough that you could walk it, you could bike it, and you get to experience it every day, like at a slower pace. But as to places that I love to go over the weekend, we went together to Kinosaki Onsen, and that was incredible. I just wanted to extend day by day and stay there longer. I love Tokyo, but that I wouldn't stay there for a month because it's just like such an experience in itself. But I love like getting glimpses of it for a weekend and then going back again every time I have the chance to. And what other places did we do? I didn't get the chance to explore the north, Sapporo, but I know Tribers talked about being like an amazing place to be on the North Island in Hokkaido. So hopefully next time when I go there, I get to experience it.
So obviously we all spent quite a lot of time in Kyoto. So that's a place where we spend a month there. We can really talk about it to a little bit more depth. I think one of the big questions that people always have is, but what's it actually like, day to day? Like, what's the normal daily life in Kyoto like for you? So I don't know if you want to hop in first.
I mean, yeah, Kyoto is really nice. It was like, at least where we were staying, it was away from the center, about like 20, 30 minutes. And so it was like you actually blend in, not really blend in, but you like living with like the locals, it feels like. And you're just going to a local grocery shop, you have like your routines. I really love that. Like I would eat sushi every day from a local market, and it was incredible, best sushi ever. So yeah, I loved being able to blend in and seeing how the locals live. And that was really cool to see that the whole month.
Yeah, I would agree, definitely. I think because the Tribe House is a little bit outside of, it's not even outside of the city. It's completely accessible to all of the great things about living in a city, but it's a little bit quieter. It feels a little more a nice kind of leisurely pace. I need to like stop and pause that 7-Eleven was a really important, really important element. Like I'm talking about the traditional things, but 7-Eleven was deeply important to me and most of the tribe, strictly because it is unlike anything that any other 7-Eleven has. But no, there's just a different pace being slightly adjacent to the city. But one of the best things is that the bus system there is so accessible. You can look on your phone and see to the minute what time the bus is coming, and then it zips you right into wherever you want to go, whether you're going to see how we did a samurai experience at this traditional samurai house. It was just incredible. And that you just took the bus, or you went to the manga museum, or karaoke. And that was just, it made it really easy to feel like you had access to lots of different things, like you would in a city, but without the kind of buzz.
Well, I guess for me, the day-to-day can be a little bit ordinary because I like to keep my routine. So we like try to go to the gym and see who else is going to the gym in the morning. Then after the gym, it's just like go to our favorite coffee shop in the corner and trying to convince more tribers to come along.
The best coffee in the world.
Yes. Honestly,
And
in
matcha cake.
Japan, you find the best of everything in the world there, like in some corner. And then after, just like you want to take a small part of your day to go explore something. It could be like a culinary experience. Like, let's try this like matcha viral TikTok pancakes. So you just like do that. And then you feel so fulfilled for the day that you just like try to find a spot to work and just like kind of contemplate what you're going to do the next day. So every day feels like a bit of an adventure, discovering like small bits and pieces of our neighborhood or other neighborhoods. But there was one moment in the morning, it's like when you're preparing to go to the gym, I just opened the doors, like the sliding doors from the machiya, and you see monks like walking and blessing the space, and you're like, what? Is this real life? Like, is this happening right in front of our doors? So yeah, that was just magical to experience.
I think I would just add Japan, or probably Japan in general, but certainly in Kyoto as well. I think the day-to-day life, a lot of it revolves around, I would say for us, almost like food tourism. I don't think there's a country that I've been to where food had played such a central role in the experience of that destination. And it's wild because I also don't think I've been to a country where there is such a great variety of dishes. It's like, how have they invented so many different things? There's so many different ingredients that they use. Everything just looks stunning. It tastes incredible. There's something about the Japanese culture that does, I'd say, like nothing in moderation. Like if you're going to do something, you're going to do it incredibly well. You like dedicate your life to that thing, and then and it shows. We had some of the best tacos, like Mexican tacos of our life in Japan, in like a little street food stall. Again, the best coffee, we'd literally buy beans from there and travel the world with those beans and then get more of those beans shipped to us in Germany, because it's that much better than anywhere else that we've been. And we've just been in Melbourne. That's the bar. So
I mean, they're masters in anything they do. Like best food in the world. Like anywhere you go in Japan is just so special.
yeah, 100%. And then we would have the bikes as well. So I feel like between the buses and the bikes, we'd just be like zipping in and out. Someone's like, hey, we're going to go to this place, check out this food, try out that thing. And like by the end of the month, I feel like I've tried so much, but I still haven't tried it all. That's kind of like that was the wildest thing. Okay, so now we're going to shift gears one more time real quick and talk about the Kyoto chapter specifically, right? So now we had a chance to talk about Japan, about what Wi-Fi Tribe actually is, and now we're talking about the Kyoto chapter with Wi-Fi Tribe, the experience that you had. Monica, you've been on one that happened, I think, 2023. You were on one with the two of us as well. We weren't on yours, actually, which is weird because we were on every other one. You were on one with us in 2025, is that right? Yep.
Yes, 2025.
Awesome. Cool. And we don't know anymore which chapter, what happened on which chapter. It's all blended into one, but just huge Kyoto experience. So, Monica, you've done 12 chapters, I believe. I checked. 14. We need to check our system. Something's wrong. Nosif, I'm not going to guess. How many have you done?
Let's see. I think this one's my 8.
Yep, we got that right.
Yeah.
Aura, I'm going to guess you've done about 30.
I think so, yeah, about 30.
And I'm at about 65. So like together,
Holy shit.
Together we have done about 100 chapters, which is wild. We have probably together been to more than 100 countries. I mean, it's going to be hard to count and figure out which is doubled up. But I think, again, we've probably met over 1,000 nomads. I'm saying all of this just one more time so that we can say, like, hey, we can compare and we can give you a little bit of insight that's going to be interesting or valuable from this. So part of this section now is just going to be how can we compare Kyoto, the chapter, specifically to other chapters that we've done, to give people who've maybe done chapters before an idea of like, okay, could this be for me? Maybe not. Like, what's the vibe of it, basically, right? So first question I got for you, anything really memorable from the Kyoto chapter? So any core memories for you that you remember?
I think the group of people we had, even though we were split up in 4 to 5 different housing, I think we were still able to somehow bond in a way. Like we would gather in one apartment or like make plans that would be involved with other apartments as well. So like I think we were able to figure out a way where we can all connect in one space or do an activity together. And I think that was really unique even when we were split. And I know that can be hard in some space, but I think that was really special.
Yeah, it's, as I was saying earlier, it's very hard to pin down one particular memory just because I'm just flooded. But our group was really special. We had a really great, I don't know, everybody brought something to the table in a really special way. But as far as the chapter itself, everybody had such high energy to be there and was just a yes for whatever somebody was, you can't make everything happen when someone suggests an idea, you might be working or whatever it is, but every day there were multiple opportunities to, like a bookbinding class, a manga experience, any sort of food tour or biking to the mountains. And those were just things that happened every single day. But from a big picture perspective, besides the really nice kind of bonding that happened between people, I think we went to Hiroshima one weekend, and that was really special in the sense of from a traveling perspective, and especially as an American, that was very important to do that. But it also, we had a great time because we also went to an arcade and had delicious food, and it was a smaller group, so that was kind of bonding in a way. And then, as I said, the monastery was incredible because that was just an experience you can't get anywhere else. You might, but I don't know where. So, yeah.
Oh, there's so many amazing moments to choose from. But one in particular that stands out is actually the monastery trip that we did in 2019. So shout out to Jess Marie, who organized this incredible adventure. And we all got to be together in one or two rooms, like had to wear traditional yukatas for the day and just like experience what it's like to be in a temple, go to the prayers, like greet the monks, have the dinner. But I guess like one of my favorite parts was also just like us giggling at night, all like on the tatami. So we were like 10 people in one room. It was just still one of the most memorable nights that we had. And it's just the Zen garden chats that we had across the different houses. It's just like cup of tea, cup of matcha, and just like having a good chat.
I just want to add to that for a second. You reminded me with the monastery and Jess Murray planning the monastery visit. she planned ours as well, and I think she's been several times. And there was a triber there, Carlos, who said, "Wow, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity." And she goes, "This is my third time."
This is so good.
Right, and that's not her third time in Kyoto. That's her third time in that monastery.
Oh my God. Yeah, I'm kind of sad we missed that. I know we were trying to plan it when we were there last year and it didn't work out. But I do remember another trip we did. This was different than the Kinosaki Onsen. I think the one where we biked across different bridges. I don't remember the name of the bridges or the trip we did, but
Like a biking.
yeah, it was like a weekend, 3-day bike tour, like across different towns. I think west of Japan.
Close to Hiroshima, right?
Yeah, close to Hiroshima, and that was also a really fun trip. So comes to mind.
Amazing. Who would you recommend this chapter to? Yeah, really curious to know like what kind of person would actually enjoy this and get the most out of it.
Number one, someone who loves food. I think this is like the right country if you love any kind of food. I feel like they have so many different varieties, and everywhere you go, like street food or even a restaurant, like anywhere you go, it's gonna be quality food. Another person, if you're, it's so hard because like Japan has a little bit of everything. So like, yeah, food is great, but like if you love adventures or city vibe, like you can go to Tokyo and just have like an amazing nightlife there. Yeah, adventures like biking or hiking. There's plenty of those. Like if you go out in the countryside, so it's I know it's like wrong to say, but it's literally for everyone. So that's what I believe in.
Yeah, and I just extending off of that, because I think one of the special things about, at least my experience on the Japan chapter, is that if you have at least one thing you're curious about and have been wanting to do in Japan, that means that you are contributing to 20 other people who also have their one thing that they want to do in Japan, and all of that together is really powerful, because all of a sudden you're doing things that you had no idea that you should be interested in. And because Japan has just so many of these cultural and artistic avenues and food, that, like, I think about, so there was someone who was really interested in bookbinding, so she brought everyone to a Skillshare for that. There was someone in Wi-Fi Tribe who is very versed in shibari, and so he did an entire Skillshare for us on shibari, which was, not something that a lot of people would have necessarily thought to do or would have felt comfortable doing, but because it was in that space, he did this like fantastic experience with us. Someone else was really into Reiki and did a Reiki session with us and climbed Reiki Mountain. So if you have one little kernel that you're interested in, you are contributing to a larger group dynamic that you don't even know you're adding to.
I mean, to put the question in reverse, like who should not go to Japan, actually?
Okay, you're a bit radical because you love it so much.
I know. That's why I feel like for me it's hard to answer this question, because every time I go, I get something different out of it. So it's like, if I think I've explored all the foodie places like Nosif mentioned, there will be something else that I'm getting. I will find like new hiking paths, and you're like, oh, this is the most incredible like hiking, trail that I've discovered in the mountains near Kyoto. So I really think it has a bit of everything for everybody.
I think I'm going to add one more thing to that. I think Japan is for some, especially if you're someone who's kind of coming more from the West. Japan is a place to go to if you're like, I've seen a lot of the world, and I feel like I need to feel something. Like I need a bit of culture shock. I want
to feel alive.
Yeah, I want to feel alive again. Yeah, I want to be told off. Japan has this wonderful thing where like the culture is so thoughtful. And there's obviously also a lot of like both said and unsaid rules in the culture that you have to try to understand. Jess is the triber with the most chapters. She's been to Japan now 3 times with us on many chapters, has helped us organize a lot. But she sat all of us down and did her first Skillshare on that chapter was, this is how you do Japan. and this is how you behave in Japan, like how we don't mess it up, right? How we can be respectful. And it was incredibly helpful because we then carried that thinking with us throughout the rest of the chapter. And it did two things. First of all, it made it easier for us to navigate Japan in the right way and not feel like we're doing something that's like, offending a local potentially. But secondly, I realized that I had that awareness in the back of my mind now. So now when I saw it, I could actually appreciate it. And I was like, oh, they're doing this. I've never in my life seen. So imagine you're at a road that is no wider than a car, and there's a zebra crossing. There is a traffic light on both sides with for people to cross, right? And when the red light is on in this road that is this wide, there is a queue of people standing on the left-hand side waiting for the light to go green on both sides of that road, of that sidewalk. The moment it goes green, everybody orderly goes over there. And you just realize, even as a tourist, you see those things and you go, ooh, I better go to the back of that queue, right? You very quickly align with what it is. And for me, I think what I got out of Japan, like the biggest takeaway was like, this is a great way to be as a human. And I want to carry so much of what this culture has developed over thousands and thousands of years into our community and into my day-to-day life. I feel like you become a better person by spending time in Japan.
Yeah, just to add to that, I think witnessing the social code there is, especially as a long-term traveler, you go everywhere, you experience lots of different things, but the social code across all of Japan, at least in my experience, was strict in the sense that people really respected each other and the system that is set up for them. So you see children who are really young on the subway. You see, theft is not a thing there unless it's a bird stealing my onigiri out of my hands. But no, it's just it makes you appreciate how you can treat each other and how doing the things that you say you're going to do is a value system, and following through and respecting that code even when people aren't looking, I think is the big thing. So I really appreciated that.
It's the country where even the nature is respectful to you. Even the deer bow to you as you give them a cookie.
And Diego, if I can add one thing, is it feels like Japan has figured out community in the smallest moments that you experience. And that to me is going to the supermarket is like the most impactful experience, where somebody who works so hard and every day there for like 9 hours, like scanning things, or they take the time to smile and help you pack the things and orderly to perfection, and it's just like you still get a greeting moment and you're like, why is this happening here? I should be packing all my stuff. But I think it's just a show of gratitude that people show to one another, and it's happening everywhere, like at the crossings, as you mentioned, in traffic, at the supermarket, at the restaurants. So it's just so wonderful to see everybody appreciating everybody's hard work everywhere. So
yeah, it's wild in the best ways, Then they once they've packed everything for you and done and helped you out all that much, they'll say arigato gozaimasu. It's like it's a thank you to you for just having shopped here, and you will literally have like as I stop to cross the road and there's a car that stops to let me cross, like you find yourself just naturally like bowing just a little bit as a thank you. They're bowing to you, like it's happening in every minor interaction. It's incredible. Really lovely.
Yeah, I feel like the longer you stay in Japan, the nicer you get. Like this is what I believe in.
What's the accommodation like that we have specifically there in Kyoto?
I mean, I think it's my favorite accommodation I've been with Wi-Fi Tribe. It's just the houses are so nice, so clean, very well kept, and even though they're probably like 5-10 minutes apart from each other, I think all of them were just easy and comfortable to live in, and it actually felt like you're in Japan the way they were built. Like it's not like living in a high rise or like an apartment in some other country. You feel like you're actually in Japan with the infrastructure around it. So
Yeah, the house I lived in for our chapter was kind of the unofficial tribe house because it was bigger. There were 6 of us. But it was on this little street. There was a tea shop next to us. And it was one of those very beautiful Kyoto-style wooden beamed homes with some of the paper sliding doors, a couple people had a tatami mat bedroom that was in front of a Zen garden, and there was a beautiful wooden tub, and it was just like this like very beautiful, what you would imagine with Kyoto. And then also half the house had sort of a more Western style, so it was a bit of a mix. Also, importantly, the Japanese toilets are great. But no, the accommodations were great. I loved the Zen garden in particular because you could just hear the trickling of water every day. And but our little street was very special because it just felt like you were in it. Yeah.
Same. Monica, I'm happy you mentioned the toilets because there's something else. Some of them sing to you. For me, it's actually, I love the tatami style system that they built. The first time I went there, we slept on a tatami bed, and I had the best night of sleep of my life. And the next time I slept into a normal like Western style bed, so I was a little bit jealous whoever had a tatami on the floor. So yeah, that is my highlight of the Japanese houses.
Yeah, I will say that I think this is the way you should do it. So if you're going to Japan, sure, like go to a hotel at some point, like have your comforts and all that. But at the end of the day, I think try to experience Japan in the way that it's meant to be experienced. If you want that full experience, try to find. It's called a machiya house. That's the style of house. That's the local type. And maybe on the inside, like they'll deck it out a little bit more for Westerners. They're like, oh, okay, it's a proper bed. I feel a little more comfortable with that. I recommend trying out the tatamis. I also really love them. But the point is, like, you feel like you're like, oh, I'm in Japan every moment of the day. I'm in Japan when I'm in my house. I'm in Japan when I'm outside of my house. And I think that was really the vibe of them. I do also want to ask real quick about the neighborhood that we were in, because I think that matters too. You alluded to it a little bit earlier, but maybe we could just jam on that a little bit more. So yeah, what was the neighborhood like, and how did you kind of get around from that neighborhood to explore Kyoto?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like we were the only tourists in that neighborhood, which I love, like when I am not surrounded by tourists, but actually around the locals. And I really enjoyed just walking down the street and just seeing Japanese people, like no other tourists. And that was really cool for me because I felt like I was in Japan or like in a different country. And yeah, I think that was super cool.
Yeah, our neighborhood was very special in that way. I think, especially with the little streets with the traditional homes, you definitely felt like you were in Japan. But it's still a block away from the grocery store and 7-Eleven. And then in another direction, there's a forest that's more of a park. It's very beautiful. And then there's a gym, but all of it, you're adjacent to kind of the buzz of a city. But then in order to get to that area, which isn't far away, you take the bus or you ride bikes. We rode bikes lots of places, which was really nice. One of my favorite little details was that throughout the chapter, we're a little bit conspicuous as a group of 20 nomads. And as you're saying, in a place that, there weren't as many tourists around. But because the tribe house was next to this little tea shop, we got a note on our door one day where the owner of the tea shop had Google translated a note to us inviting us to the tea shop. And he said, I'd love for you to come over. And so, we did it in waves because I think there were maybe 4 or 5 seats in the tea shop. But it was such a lovely experience, and we felt like we were part of the neighborhood in that way. Like, he wanted us to be there.
Wow, that's amazing.
That was very special. I really appreciated that. So there were those, like, small gestures where you felt like you were getting something that you wouldn't be if you were maybe at a hotel inside the city.
I mean, I really love the neighborhood for the same reasons Nosif mentioned as well. Just feeling like you can observe our neighbors just carrying on with their lives, every day. But it was also one of the quarters for geishas. So I guess it's like one of the things we want to see and encounter. And it was just sometimes like you could see geishas like coming to like a tea house in the evening or like in the morning. So that's like a nice experience to witness.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, I also have the cleanest gyms that I've been to. Yeah. I mean, you kind of carry a basket when you enter the gym, and they give you like a spray to clean and a cloth. Like everyone gets their personal like basket, and then whenever you're done, you clean your own machine, and that was really cool. Like a different experience than anywhere else I've been. But
That was the strangest gym experience. And there's like rules all over the walls. Like there's a lot, you have to do everything right. But after having been to a gym in Japan for a month, I then go to another country and I'm like, ew,
Yeah, so
this
true.
is dirty. It really ruined me for gyms after that. And I'm like, who's polishing this? But yeah. So now we're going to shift gears a little bit and we're going to talk about Wi-Fi Tribe because I think it's really relevant. Obviously, that's what we've all been doing together. It's kind of the journey that we've been on for quite a while. And it's how we all did Japan, at least part of it. And yeah, I want to spend the second half of this to talk a little bit more about the chapter, the trip that we did specifically. So if anybody is curious, if you're curious to understand a little bit more about what that might be like, what the experience is like, let's give you a little intro on what Wi-Fi Tribe and what a chapter is as well. So first question I have for you, Nosif, is what is a chapter?
A chapter is this 4 weeks long in a destination where 15 to 25 people will come together and plan things together, weekend trips, just daily things, and then have the chance to actually get to know each other for a full month. And I think it's really special when you are stuck with people in one spot where you're forced to get to know them in a way. But yeah, I feel like sometimes you do co-lives or you'll meet people somewhere else for like a weekend, but you don't actually get to know them until like 2-3 weeks in. And I feel like the key for me when I do chapters is to actually get to know someone deeply and understand where they come from and who they are. And that's what I enjoy, and that's why I do these chapters.
Okay. Hard to recap that. But yeah, a Wi-Fi Tribe chapter is a 4-week period, concentrated amount of time where instead of traveling by yourself, you're traveling with a group of members of the Wi-Fi Tribe community. And as Nosef said, the really special thing about it is that you're in a blend of people who all have very similar sort of approaches to the world in the sense of that they're curious, they're eager to try new things, and they are deliberately in this space in order to get to know other people and to experience a new place. And you're doing that while you're also dedicating yourself to your work. And that's not something that you can necessarily do as easily when you're traveling by yourself or even co-live sometimes, because the really nice thing about a chapter is that you might see some people you've traveled with before and you're also meeting new people. So it's this moment where you can sort of solidify these bonds that you already have with people you've met in the past and then create new ones. And if you're nomading long term, it just helps build your whole ecosystem, your universe of it is your lifestyle. It's not just a thing you're doing for a one-off. And I think that's very valuable.
Oh, I guess Nosif and Monica explained it really well.
Well, anything to add maybe?
Anything to add? For me, I'm actually like measuring my adventure travel life in chapters. Like I'm actually thinking this is a chapter of my life that I get to experience in a destination with my friends, and sometimes like have reunions with friends that I've made from previous chapters, meet new people, and it's just like such a unique combination, such a unique moment. It's just like you can never reproduce it again. So that's why you get to save it as a chapter of your life in your own book.
Awesome. I think what I would add to it is an important piece is that everybody arrives at the same time and stays for a month. I think the reason that that's important is because it's kind of like, remember back when you were at university or college, in that first kind of the freshers week, I don't know what they're called in the States, but when you first arrive, everybody's got that energy of getting to know each other. Everyone's so excited about, oh my God, this new experience, this new journey that we're on, this destination, like all that stuff. And that creates the kind of energy and the openness where everybody wants to connect really quickly. Then also, because people know that everybody's there for the same reasons, to connect with each other and experience that together, it's a rare moment in life where it's really easy to build new connections and allow those connections to go deep, right? So it's kind of a little bit of a recreation of that. Next question I've got for you, and feel free to just yes and add to what somebody else has said, so we can kind of piece it together between us. But what is Wi-Fi Tribe?
Wi-Fi Tribe is this company where That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know how to describe Wi-Fi Tribe.
I don't either. Most of
Yeah. It's like I'm trying to differentiate from the chapters and Wi-Fi Tribe. I think what I really like about Wi-Fi Tribe is like the values they hold. I believe like just some of the things they've done in the past with issues they've encountered. I've like noticed that they do have pretty strong values that they believe in, and I mean, it kind of speaks that more of their audience is women, where they feel safe. I think that's like a key of shows that their values are really important and they stick through it. So I think that's like one key thing. But I don't know if that describes Wi-Fi Tribe. I think that's just like one portion of them. I can come back to it if someone has a better answer. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the easy way to answer that question is Wi-Fi Tribe is a community, but I think particularly if you've been traveling for a long time or you're hoping to travel and build friendships that maybe aren't as accessible, I think, when you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, maintaining a sense of community, a sense of friendship that feels long lasting and that isn't condensed to a life cycle of waiting for your friends to, part ways and for different reasons. Wi-Fi Tribe just has this ability to keep you grounded and feel like you're not losing access to your new friendships as an adult. And, given that I've been in Wi-Fi Tribe for so many years at this point, I've lived a lot of highs and lows in this community. And as a result, I've had people there for me all the time, whether that's like the best day of my life or, not. And you see that even though there have been so many people who have come in and out of the community, even those people for me are still a part of my life if they're not in Wi-Fi Tribe, because those experiences are so, anchoring. And I think it's just if you take advantage of what Wi-Fi Tribe presents as a community, it really just has the power to be, this whole section of your life that's really fulfilling in ways that just isn't possible elsewhere. I mean that.
Oh, that was amazing. I don't know if there's anything that you want to add to that to round it off.
I feel like Wi-Fi Tribe is a place where you can find your kind of people. I think this is, what we're trying to build here. And I feel everybody has like different sides, like we live our lives at home, we have our communities at home, but there's a side there is adventurous, that's looking for a new way of living, a new lifestyle, like something new, and you're just trying to find the people who are willing to share this moment with you. And we hope that this is the place where you can find your tribe.
What I love about what we all said here, and by the way, so I'm going to pass it back to you if you have something else to add at this one, but I love that there was really no mention of, Wi-Fi Tribe is for digital nomads, which is really cool because like it is so much more than that. It is really about like how we connect as people, who we are, how it gives us something else in our lives. And I think this idea of like, it's for remote workers, it's for people who kind of have travel in their DNA, who go around the world, who want to, reconnect with each other in that kind of way, that has become almost secondary, but it is a piece of what it is, right? So it's just really wonderful to hear that from you.
But actually, Diego, if I can add, I feel like maybe the reason I didn't identify as saying is like it's a place for digital nomads, because in my life that can shift many times. Like I could be a nomad for like a couple of years and then I'm not, and I just don't want that to feel like the time that I've been here and I invested it's really tied to being a digital nomad. Like I want it to be for the long run. So I will change my careers and my lifestyle multiple times, but I hope the community can still be in my life for the long term.
100%. And like that's at the end of the day, that's the ultimate mission and the ultimate goal, to have pockets of community all around the world, basically permanently there for us, whether we are actively traveling or not. So a work in progress, always trying to push for that. Curious, maybe we can make this one a little bit more fast fire, but you must have, when you were about to join, you must have had some hesitations. There must have been a moment where you're like, ooh, I don't know. What was maybe holding you back when you first saw it?
Well, for me, I haven't traveled much at all before I joined. So like I have no solo traveling experience, no group traveling, no co-lives. It was literally just diving straight in. And like I just signed up for like 2 chapters back to back, and this was back in 2023, and I don't know, I think I needed a change. It's where I was in my life. I needed a change, and I was like, okay, I need to make this commitment. And it's still like, I feel like it's a great decision I made, that I committed to it and stuck with it, and it's changed the way I live now. So
Yeah, I would say that my jumping into the pool of Wi-Fi Tribe was pretty immediate, but the thing that held me back initially was work. I worked in an office, and it wasn't a matter of, there wasn't like a specific policy, but I had to ask, and asking is really hard. So it was, I sat my bosses down and I said, I really want this thing, and they agreed, and they said, well, let's see what happens. And it ended up working out. And it was one of those situations where I said, okay, I'll do Wi-Fi Tribe for a month, and then I'll be done, and I will go back to normal life. And I called them halfway through, and I said, I don't know about that. And I ended up doing another chapter because I had met such great people, and there was availability on, I did Colombia, and then there was availability on Peru. So I just hopped onto that. And then all of a sudden I did 5 chapters. So it was really just, sometimes it's as easy as, or not easy, but sometimes it's just asking a question. And those questions feel really hard, but you rip the Band-Aid off, and the worst case that can happen is they say no, and then you figure out a different way.
So guys, thank you so much for having had this chat. This has been incredible. I feel like we've downloaded everything that was on our minds about Japan. I'm sure there's a lot more, but I think we got the big pieces. So yeah, really appreciate you spending the time.
Arigatou gozaimasu.
Arigatou gozaimasu.